Okay, guys, we're back. Like I said, double upload. I ain't no liar. I told you it was a double upload day. It's double upload. Because every day's a double upload day. And Jamaal Adams, if you can't tell by the title of and thumbnail, Jamaal Adams finally requested to be traded. And that's what this video is about. This video, I'm going to go over basically each of the why each team that he wants to go to. So the Eagles, the Texans, the Seahawks, the Niners, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. Why each team should trade for him. Not necessarily should, but like, will they? I'll break it down if they will, basically. So like, cap, position, like who do they already have the position? Are they a direct competitor of the Jets? Are they contenders? All that good stuff. And we're going to start off, and I'm going to go in order of the teams with the most cap space, okay? First off, the Philadelphia Eagles. Where do I begin? They have the most cap space out of all the teams that he requested, so they're most likely to be able to give him what he's asking for. And I mean, I don't really know what more to say here. Like, I don't usually do these videos. I do rate it, as you know, link in the description. But the Eagles, I mean, they play in the NFC East, so it's not the strongest division, but the Cowboys, they have a lot of receivers, a lot of really good receivers, so if you're the Eagles, you really kind of need a really good secondary, and they don't necessarily have that. Their secondary is not the best in the league, especially at strong safety, where Jamaal Adams plays. So for me, the Eagles do make a lot of sense, except for the third requirement, I guess, is I don't see them as much of a contender. Yeah, they won their division last season. Yeah, they've got a star quarterback, but I just don't see the offense as being super lethal. Like, they kind of don't have the weapons around Carson Wentz. And then with that, like, yeah, the Eagles have a pretty stacked defensive line, but their secondary has a lot of room for improvement, and I don't think Jamaal Adams is the only player they need to add to make that improvement to get back to the Super Bowl, you know? And then the next team, I believe, is the Texans. The Houston Texans. Yes, sir. The Houston Texans coming in on the list with the second most cap space of the teams he requested to be traded to. And this one does not make as much sense to me. Like, the fact that he wants to be traded here doesn't make a lot of sense. Because there is so much competition in that division. Yeah, the Texans, they're pretty good. They have a really good offense, a really good quarterback. Their defense, like, it's not great. IMO, they don't have the best secondary, which I guess Jamaal would help fix that. And actually, the more I talk, I'm kind of talking myself into it. The Texans have a lot of cap space. Granted, they do have to sign Deshaun Watson still. But they also really need some secondary help, especially competing in the hyper-competitive AFC South. Jeez. Competing in the hyper-competitive AFC South, it would just... It would almost be astronomically great for the Texans to make this move. Except for, like, probability isn't very high. But not because of the team, like how good the team is, the team being a contender, the team wanting to pay him. That's not why. It's because the fourth category, why would the Jets trade Jamaal Adams to an AFC competitor? It just doesn't make sense to me. And then you got the other thing is they don't have a lot of trade capital. You know, they've got not Jamaal Adams. They've got picks, I guess, but that's about it. They just don't have enough star power to where they have enough to trade, and they're not generally the most aggressive team. Then I believe after the Texans, we've got the BS. We've got the Seattle Seahawks. Is another team he requested to be traded to. No, the San Francisco 49ers. They have $2 million more of cap space than the Seahawks. And honestly, I would be quaking in my boots if Jamaal Adams went to San Francisco. They don't need him as much. I mean, Jaquiski Tart, he's not bad, but he's not, like, great either. He's kind of like a placeholder till you can get a higher level guy. And in my opinion, Jamaal Adams obviously is that high level guy that the Niners should trade for. But I don't think they'd be as willing to fork over money for a safety when they've already got such a potent defense. I mean, it would just make their team better, but safety isn't, like, their biggest need necessarily, you know? And then they're in the NFC. So, honestly, the Jets should be more willing to trade him to them than a team like the Texans or the Ravens or the Chiefs, which we'll get to later. I just think that San Francisco is not going to be willing to go through on it, you know? And then we get to Seattle. And boy, oh boy, I love this trade 100% unbiased. I love Jamaal Adams coming to Seattle. And this is because Bradley McDougald isn't bad. But he's not as young as Jamaal Adams. He's not as talented as Jamaal Adams, as right now I don't think any safety is. But Seattle hasn't really been willing to go forward as much and, like, spend as big lately, at least not on positions like secondary. It's not their main focus. I'd absolutely love for Seattle to go out, trade Bradley McDougald a first and maybe a fourth or something, a first and a fourth and Bradley McDougald. I'd love to see that. Because, honestly, it's a pretty good deal for the Jets. They get back a safety that's better than current free agent safeties. They get a first-round pick for him, which is what they used on him, and they get an additional third or fourth pick. So, really, the Jets get, like, a lot back in this scenario, and I really like it. Then they're in the NFC. They're not going to be harassing the Jets as much, except maybe this season. And I guess this goes back to the 49ers, too. They're in the NFC West, and the West plays the Jets this season, and that could really hurt the Jets' chances of making the postseason if they trade Jamaal Adams to the NFC West. But you're not going to find a lot of teams that don't play the Jets. Like, it'll be what? They play 16 games. 4 of them, or 3 of them are in the division, so there's 3 teams. So, what, they play 13 different opponents? And then if they do make the playoffs, then obviously NFC is very helpful that they trade Jamaal too. But I just think NFC is ideal for the Jets to trade him to. And I think the Seahawks are the best team to fit him. Not only that, they have a history of really good safeties. And they've got the cap to pay him. They've paid their biggest star players with the exception of Chris Carson. And they haven't paid Metcalf yet. But everyone else is paid for. And then, in this scenario, I saw a comment that was like, they trade for Jamaal Adams, and in doing so, they ship off Bradley McDougald, and then they pay Adams, and in having Adams, they can have weaker linebackers and trade cut KJ Wright, giving them more cap space and sign Clowney. I don't see that happening. I'm sorry. If that person's watching my video, which I heavily doubt, it's not worth Clowney to give up one of the players who's still a top 15 linebacker in the league, despite him getting older in KJ Wright. That's why that would not add up to me, despite the fact that they do have Jordan Brooks, and if Jordan Brooks pans out, that just makes this so likely and so possible in my opinion. But I'm not high on Jordan Brooks. Then the next team is Dallas. Dallas isn't going to get him. They cannot, if you have a star safety or star quarterback, which do you pick? You take the good quarterback. Sorry for saying star quarterback. Dak isn't a star necessarily. But, you know what I mean. If you have a guy you believe to be a franchise quarterback versus the best safety in the league, you're going to take the franchise quarterback because quarterback is the most important to the team. And if you sign Dak, you just don't have the cap space to pay Adams. You see where I'm going with this? And I don't think they're enough of a contender. They kind of don't have enough draft capital to trade. And really, I just don't like all the rumors of Dallas being the best team and the most likely for Jamaal Adams to be traded to. And then we get to the Baltimore Ravens. And this is another one I'm not as big of a fan of. Just because their secondary is so good already. Granted, they're known for being aggressive, but their secondary is so good already. And they've got the second lowest amount of cap space on the list. And they still need to pay Lamar Jackson. They're going to pay Marquise Brown. So they won't have the money in the long run to pay Jamaal Adams. Then with that, they're in the AFC. Why would the Jets trade him to the AFC where he's just going to beat up on them? It's just not likely. Then, the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs. And this is another team where the quarterback needs to be paid, and they've got, they're in the bottom 5 of cap space right now, with still needing to pay their star quarterback. So they probably can't even afford to trade for Jamaal Adams. They might have the cap room, or not the cap room, the draft capital. I'm not sure about that one. And then, do they necessarily need strong safety? No, they don't need it. They're not in desperate need for it. And then they're in the AFC. They won the freaking Super Bowl, so they're competitors. But they're in the AFC with the Jets. I don't think the Jets would trade him within the AFC, you know. But that is my thoughts on Jamaal Adams being traded. Really quick, I believe Seattle or San Francisco, honestly, or even Philly, those 3 NFC teams, I believe, to have the best chances of signing Jamaal Adams for the reasons I listed. They're all 3 in the NFC. They all three are among potential premier teams in the NFL. They don't have really many star players to sign still. And Jamaal Adams listed them that he wanted to be traded to. Not only that, they have the trade capital. So, the draft capital to trade. So, all in all, those are my three teams. Like, comment below, what team do you think Jamaal Adams has the best chance of being traded to? Make sure you check out today's earlier video, the Cardinals franchise. That was a good one. Scary, close ending. And with that, 2 videos popping up. That's most recent upload. That's one YouTube recommends. That's the subscribe button in the middle. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.